Umhausen, Ötztal, Austria traditionally hosts the final stage of the natural track Luge World Cup season. It's the grand finale. It's the quiet before the storm. It's ultimate madness. The tension is rising, and so is the excitement. I've never experienced anything like this before. Sometimes it hits you, and sometimes it hits the others. It was stressful. The stakes are high. On a challenging playground. Grantau is known as a complicated and difficult track. It's 955 meters long and provides 12 corners. This is a track that demands everything from the athletes, as Russian luger Daria Maleva explains. For me, it's important to be focused at the start and to concentrate on the process, particularly how much I have to brake. Of course, as little as possible, especially with this track because it's quite soft at the moment. That's why focusing on the process is important to me.
Для меня важна концентрация в том, как я пройду.
The Umhausen track is not as easy as it seems at first glance. It has many combinations which I have to get through with maximum speed and then maintain that speed. That's why you have to focus on the process.
С сохранением скорости. Поэтому нужно концентрироваться на том, как ты пройдешь трассу.
That's because the curves are very big here. There are no such tracks in Russia, therefore we cannot really prepare for it.
К сожалению, нет таких трасс, на которых мы можем подготовиться.
At the moment, the track leaves us high and dry because the ice is warm and the weather is warm. The ice is way too soft and you can't reach the necessary speeds. But what can you do? We can handle it.
Вот, ну, что поделать? Так и живем.
But before we get on track for the final run of the doubles, it will become a bit cuddly in here. This duo works best in the smallest of spaces, and before they get on track, world champions Rupert Brugler and Tobias Angerer answer our questions.
10
years ago, we thought we should try the doubles, as it could only go wrong. And yeah, it's been going well for 10 years. The two Austrians crowned their careers with the world title last year, but how do they allocate their roles on track? What does Rupert do on the luge? I have no idea. First and foremost, he has to do the braking, and he also gives the commands before we enter the corners. He's a great front man. He does his work perfectly, and we're a dream team. He's responsible for adding the weight when entering the corners and, of course, for accelerating the luge at the exit of the corner. And what about the human factor? He's a quiet guy, very calm, clean, but he also has his tics. He's more of a juggler, I'd say. He talks a lot and you can have a lot of fun with him. A man of few words and a juggler. This winter, this duo is on the road to success. We've had extreme self-confidence since the previous year. We can rely on each other, blindly rely on each other, and we have the same great material as last season, and it works and works. I'm more of a nervous guy, while Tobias is just the opposite. He struggles a bit to make me a bit calmer, especially before the start. But it balances 100%, and that's our recipe for success. Their goal is the second place in the overall World Cup ranking, but they have to defeat tough competition in Umhausen in order to achieve this. Yeah, we get along well with the track. The corners suit us well, and I hope we can hold the Russians at bay. The doubles finals will show if they succeed. Two Austrian teams are among the top 5, including the runner-ups in the World Cup, Brugler-Angerer, plus there are the Russians Porshnev-Lazarev and Igorov Popov, as well as overall World Cup leaders Pignetta Clara from Italy. Austrians Achenreiner and Brugger are in 5th place after the first round. Their distance to the leaders is 1.30 seconds. It's a near impossible task to make this up for today. The track is a lot slower than the day before due to the weather conditions. It's a real challenge for these athletes, but if someone is able to handle these conditions, it's the Austrians, as Grantau is one of their home tracks. The duo is in first place presently just as planned. Their total time of 2:42.65 is enough for the lead, but the best are still on top. Rupert Brugler and Tobias Angerer have been among the best of the best ever since their world title last year. The Austrian duo was not satisfied with their first run, as they also compete with the Russians for second place in the overall World Cup. To grab it, the Austrians have to be better than the two Russian teams. Grantau is actually their home track, but today they're slower than in the first run. At the finish, the clock stops at 2:40.58. Will this be enough to improve their rank? Now in third, after their first run, Russians Alexander Egorov and Peter Popov. They are on par in second place with Brugler Angerer in the World Cup overall standings. Will they be able to defend their title place at the final race of the season? Or will they fall back behind the Austrians? The Russians lead by 58 hundredths of a second after the first round, but their lead is melting faster than this track. The duo loses time in the lower part, 1/100th after the other. But they are still in front when they reach the finish. They managed to defend third place. This means that they have also passed the Austrians in the overall World Cup. The second place duo after the first run, Patrick Pignetta and Florian Clara, the big stars in the doubles. The recently crowned European champions and four-time world champions are the penultimate duo to tackle the track. Their gap to the leaders after the first round is 24 hundredths of a second. This is really tight, and Pignetta Clara know this. They could bag their fifth victory in the sixth World Cup race of the season today and crown themselves the new overall World Cup winners. They enter the track with full throttle. The Italians put everything in and are very fast in the lower part. They're in the lead. This means the second place at least is guaranteed for them, and with it the overall World Cup victory. They are the final duo to attack the track, the old-timers of the doubles category, Pavel Porshnev and Ivan Lazarev. They have been part of the world class since 2003. Last year, the Russians won the overall World Cup for the fourth time in their careers and took away the globe from Pignetta Clara. This year, they could reach second place in the overall World Cup. They only have to place in front of their teammates and the Austrians. At the top, the two deliver a good start, but their lead melts in the lower section of the track. This is a very close race. Is it enough for the Russians? No, it isn't. They finish in second overall, 16 hundredths behind Pignetta Clara. What a thrilling final! The overall results, Pignetta Clara ahead of Porshnev Lazarev and Egorov Popov. Same result as in the overall World Cup, Pignetta Clara win over the two Russian teams. In a race under adverse conditions, Patrick Pignetta and Florian Clara are one step ahead of their opponents, securing their fifth victory in the sixth World Cup race of the season. It's begun to thaw and rain overnight. It's been the same fight in the front, though the ranks have changed a bit. We managed to fight and take first place, and we were able to adjust to the track very well and finish the World Cup final in an excellent way. With their victory here in Umhausen, the Italians have recaptured the coveted doubles World Cup trophy from the Russians Porshnev Lazarev. It's a great feeling, especially after losing the overall World Cup last year. This year, we are at the top again. Everything has worked out right from the beginning. This Italian is also focused on the overall World Cup, Greta Pinguera. She is second in the overall World Cup and the strongest competitor of leader Evelyn Landthaler. We're not friends during the race. You don't have any friends during the race. Everyone is focused on herself. She is the #1 pursuer. In a game called Overall World Cup, she is a mere 15 points behind Evelyn Landthaler. The 23-year-old was already beaten in the previous year. This season, only victory counts for her. In a strong team, Pingera can only afford a few mistakes. In retrospect, I'm regarding it as a mental problem. I knew Deutschnoffen is still coming up, Umhausen is still coming up, and these are my favorite tracks. I know I'm strong there. It's not necessary that the final race becomes this exciting every time again. To prevent this, Pingera needs her extraordinary luging style, which is undoubtedly her strong point that constantly challenges the competition. I steer into the corners in a subtler way than others do. I make a little detour, but I have the momentum and the drive on my side, and that's my advantage. In addition to the luging technique, one thing is more important than everything else: mental strength. A world-class athlete must be able to handle the pressure, especially if you are the pursuer. I had to work a lot on myself in the last few years. I had been way too nervous before the races. Now I have a really good grip on this, and I've gotten to know myself better. I know how to deal with the situation. Her mantra? I'm a racer. I tell myself before each race that I'm a racer. I do this to remind myself that the race begins and that I can be fast now. That's my motivation boost, as I know it's not the time to brake anymore, it's time to put the pedal to the metal. She's won 2 races this season so far with this mantra. Greta Pingera could celebrate her 3rd triumph in Umhausen. She took the first World Cup victory of her career on this track. Now it's all about going full throttle and winning the race, no matter which rank I am. Will she be able to annoy Landthaler? No, she won't. Pingera made a huge mistake in her first run. She crashes on the Grantau track. Everybody's stunned. The 23-year-old is not injured, but she's shocked. For sure, you don't realize what happened at first. It's not that tragic in the first moment. You tell yourself, okay, that's it with this season, but there will be another season. But in the second moment, it's twice as bad when you realize what you've lost. I knew my chances were huge, and that's why it hurts even more. For Pingera, the World Cup is already over. Who will now compete for victory with the favorite Evelyn Landthaler? Germany, Austria, or Italy? Where will the young talents Mittermeier or Pfattner place? What are the Austrians Diepold and Unterberger up to? And what will Evelyn Landthaler do, who is leading after the first run? Sarah Bachmann, a South Tyrolean starting for Germany, is in 6th place. After a long injury break, Bachmann recently returned to the luge at the European Championships at Winterleithen. She immediately left her mark. She got 3rd after the first round and 4th after the final run. And today, Bachmann delivers a good line again. She obviously intends to attack the top in the next season. Today, however, she wants to take everything with her that is possible. A really good second run by the German. The clock stops at 2:37.52, which the others have to beat now. Now it's a tough task for Italian Daniela Mittermeier to defeat Bachmann. She is only 1/100th of a second in front of her at the first turn. And yes, soon after the start it becomes obvious Mittermeier is losing time. She is only in 2nd place at the first split time. She has problems with this track, which has become more unpredictable since it's begun to rain. Mittermeier is slower than Bachmann. In the end, she has lost almost 2 seconds to the German and cues in 2nd place. Next up is Alexandra Pfattner. Pfattner is only a blink of an eye ahead of Mittermeier after the first run. It's only 3/100ths of a second, but Pfattner is slower than her teammate at the start. What can she make of this situation, and how well will she get along with this track? A look at the split time reveals that she is consistently ahead of Mittermeier, but behind Sarah Bachmann. The Italian is not able to endanger the time of the current leader. For the time being, 2nd place is going to Pfattner. The top 3 are still to come, 3rd among them 21-year-old Austrian Michelle Diepold, who could reach the podium here in Umhausen. At the European Championships, Diepold narrowly missed the medal ranks. What's possible for her today? She leads by 0.13 of a second over Pfatner after the first turn, but the time to beat is that of Sarah Bachmann. Diepold falls back, however. She is even only in third place during the split times. This is very bitter for the Austrian. At the finish, she is only third with a time of 2:38.46. Bachmann, on the other side, knows she will have a podium spot for sure. Now it's Diepold's teammate, the third in the overall World Cup ranking, Tina Unterberger. She is 0.37 of a second behind leader Evelyn Landthaler. Unterberger's lead over third place is only 0.23 of a second after the first run. Where will Unterberger be ranked? She's behind Bachmann too. Tina Unterberger also loses on the German. In the finish, the Austrian is 0.24 behind Bachmann, who will now be in second worst case. There is just one loser left at the start now, the recently crowned European champion, the leader of the overall World Cup, Evelyn Landthaler. She had a slow start time in the first race, but still delivered the best time at the finish. In this second run, Landthaler has to cope with the worsening conditions, but she's a pro. She starts well and brings the right speed to the track. A top time for Landthaler. She's ahead of Unterberger and ahead of Bachmann. This should be enough, and it is enough. A fourth victory in the sixth race of the season for the South Tyrolean. Second place goes to Sarah Bachmann, who only loses by the smallest margin to Evelyn Landthaler. Following in third is Tina Unterberger from Austria. In the final overall World Cup ranking, Evelyn Landthaler is in first place, Grete Pingera in second, and Tina Unterberger takes third. This means that Evelyn Landthaler is not only the happy winner of the Umhausen race, but also defends her title in the overall World Cup. Everyone struggled with the track and made the best of it. I kept my lead and won. Thank goodness, for the first time ever on this track. And she is a surprise second here in Umhausen, Sarah Bachmann. After her injury, the South Tyrolean comes back strong and takes her first podium of the season. I touched the wall 3 times and didn't expect to improve my ranking. I just fought through it. These are the conditions I like. It's just fantastic to take second place. Will there also be a surprise in the last race of the day? We doubt it. The top 3 men have been dominating the competition this season. The favorite in Umhausen is the host, the local hero Thomas Kammerlander. As an athlete, he is
ruhig,
calm, determined, and cooperative.
Und kollegial.
The natural track has been Thomas Kammerlander's home since the age of 5. The local from Umhausen hails from a Luge dynasty. No wonder he has only one thing in his head. He always wants to realize the goals he has in mind. He gives everything for that. He exercises all year round, even in the summer. There is always nothing but training, training, training for him. Kammerlander stands out from anybody else due to his calmness. He seems introverted, pensive, sometimes almost tense. He's more of a quiet guy, I'd say. Many people think he can't show any emotions, but that's not really true. He can show emotions, but basically he's just a quiet guy. He knows exactly what he wants. This coolness has earned Kammerlander his nickname, the Iceman. And it's also considered the basis of his success. In 2016-17, he took the overall World Cup, and recently he defended his European title. I think his coolness is his biggest advantage over his competitors. This means he always manages to not make any mistakes in the decisive races. He's always able to improve, and technically, he's just a complete athlete who can handle all the corners and high-speed sections with ease.
Sowohl Kehren als auch Kurven und Hochspeed-Teilstrecken alle super bewältigen kann.
Cammy, as they call him here, could win the overall World Cup on his home track today. Will the Iceman from Ötztal show emotions then? We'll definitely celebrate the end of this season, and hopefully we can celebrate him reaching his big goal in the finals today. The signs for a Thomas Kammerlander victory are good. Now it's all about staying calm, staying cool. but this should not be a problem for the Iceman. The start list: Glatzel, Clara, Gruber, Pignetter, and as the final loser, Thomas Kammerlander. The weather conditions in this final round are a disaster. The track has become unpredictable for these athletes. This provides for unusual tension at the start area. Today, everyone was really nervous at the start. I've never experienced anything like this before. Nobody talked anymore. No one knew what would happen. It was a situation you didn't have under control. It was stressful. Everyone was working on their luges. Then the coaches came and said, "Can we still change this or change that?" I would do it a little bit differently. It was quite confusing. Austrian Florian Glatzel enters the race in 5th place. In the first round, Glatzel impressed with a strong start time, the second best of all the participants. But in the second round, the wet and soft track slows him down. He loses time at the start and falls back behind current leader Michael Scheichel, and Glatzel is not able to beat the time of his teammate. Only second place for Glatzel for now. Next up is Florian Clara. The overall World Cup winner in the doubles category is also a top 10 rider in the men's singles. Clara narrowly missed the podium at the European Championship a week ago. Today, it looks like he could take 4th place, but the Italian is not used to these conditions. Clara is ahead of Scheichel and Glatzel in the split times, though. If he's able to keep up these times, he could at least be 4th here. And yes, he's temporarily number 1, but what is he doing now? He's grabbing the radio to give his teammates at the start some final hints. Will his tips be helpful for the second in the overall World Cup ranking, Alex Gruber? If Gruber wants to dispute Kammerlander's overall World Cup win, he must secure 1st place. This is an almost impossible task under these conditions, but Gruber is someone who is always good for a surprise. He often profits from his risky and fast riding style. But is it even possible to go full throttle today? Gruber is 44 hundredths of a second behind the leader Kammerlander after his first run. What will Gruber's time in the second round be worth? He is temporarily moved into 1st place with a time of 1:18. Now it's Patrick Pignetter. The Italian has won and seen everything in his life. How will he perform on the track today? In average, the athletes have been 4 seconds slower than in the first run so far. Pignetter leads by 23 hundredths of a second over Alex Gruber. And Pignetter actually builds on his lead. He stays in front of his teammate in the split time. Everything is going according to plan for the 3rd in the overall World Cup ranking. This should be enough for the Italian. This is just going to be enough. Yes, Pignetter is in 1st place. So what will the local hero do now? The overall World Cup leader. He's crafty and the Italians know it. Thomas Kammerlander only has to score a couple of points here to fix the victory in the overall World Cup, but he is ambitious. Prior to races here, he said that he only wants the victory on the Grand Tau track, his home track, in front of his home crowd. After the first round, his lead over Patrick Pignetter is 0.2 of a second. That's not much, but he leaves a good impression in the second run. Kammerlander is really confident and he stays cool. If he doesn't make any mistakes anymore, he will win. Kammerlander reaches the finish as the 1st in the race and the overall World Cup winner. Party vibes on the Grand Tau track. So the results are Kammerlander winning on his home track ahead of Pignetter and Gruber. And in the overall World Cup ranking, Kammerlander is 1st as well, followed by Gruber and Pignetter. Boundless joy, the normally calm and thoughtful Thomas Kammerlander is out of control. Winner on the Grand Tau track, defender of the overall World Cup, a perfect day for the local hero. It's been an awesome season for me in general. I've won everything from the Tyrolean Championship over the European Championship to the overall World Cup this year. In the previous year, I already said it was the best season, and now I've even topped that season. The only sad thing is that it can only get worse next season. And now it's time for the summer break. Time to breathe, time to gather new strength, time to prepare for a new season, time to fight for the next title.